Wait, these aren't whites. They're Italians.
I always do the NASCAR segment when Joe steps away. Yeah, I was a day late for the Bristol race this week. Me and the fam went over to the beach and the boardwalk yesterday afternoon. But and then I DVR'd it. I planned on watching it last night, but I ate too much pizza and ice cream, and I fell asleep when I got home. So, woke up early this morning, fired up the Bristol race. Me and Vincent watched it. I loved it. It was something different. I know they're having tire issues. The marbling was crazy. They switched from a PJ1, which is some type of traction compound, to a resin compound, which may have been responsible for the abhorrent tire fall off. That top lane never really rubbered up, as the analysts were saying, but I liked it. Joe thought it was horrible. He thought it was boring. It wasn't as electric as a normal Bristol race, but it was chaotic. There was a lot going on. I'm a JGR fan, so I mean, JGR 1, 2, 3, and 4 for like half the race. I'm not going to complain about that. So I might be a little biased, but I'm a Denny Hamlin fan. Super stoked that he won. I was honestly pulling for Truex to catch him, maybe make it a little battle at the end, but Denny pulled away. Yeah, I love Denny's podcast, Actions Detrimental. It kind of that kind of turned me on Denny and made me a fan. He breaks everything down from a first-person perspective after every race, and he releases on like Monday. He records fresh right after the race. It's a good show if you're a NASCAR fan. Check him out, Actions Detrimental with Denny Hamlin. Congrats on the win to Denny. I think it's his like 6th Bristol win, something like that. Yeah, I love the race. I thought it was fun. I know Joe's about to come back with a ton of questions for me, but I enjoyed it. I loved Bristol Dirt. I was one of the few that actually enjoyed that, so bummed to see that go, but I thought it was a great Bristol spring race. Seemed to be a pretty decent turnout. I didn't know what the viewer ratings were, but I know every week the Netflix effect with NASCAR, the ratings are up like over 1 million people from last year. But yeah, I had fun. I enjoyed the race. Joe's back to tell me why he didn't enjoy it.
It's not that I didn't enjoy it. It was a very good race. I had more problems with, well, you kind of like set it up. So the last couple weeks I've been just kind of like on my own, figuring out like, you know, what I like, what I don't like, but like more, I've just kind of been like going into it with a blank mind. It started with the midget cars and then being like, I'm going to apply the things that I liked about the indoor stock racing to like, you know, NASCAR and see like kind of like where it lies. And the previous two, so Vegas and then what was the one last week?
Phoenix.
So those two, you said Vegas was extremely boring. I found Vegas to be very...
A lot of people liked Vegas. I think I was on the outside on that one.
Okay, so I enjoyed the shit out of Vegas because it was it's a super speedway, right?
No,
it's not.
It's an intermediate. It's a mile and a
okay.
half. That's NASCAR's bread and butter. It's called an intermediate. They're mile and a half tracks.
Okay, so that was a mile and a half.
Anything a mile or less is short track.
Then what was Phoenix?
They're calling it a short track now, but it's on that border where it's like a mile or something like that, but they use the short track package there, which is different spoilers and different settings in the car.
Even that like 5 wide berm, that still qualifies as a intermediate, or
no? Like, they're Phoenix in my eyes is an intermediate.
Okay,
but they're now classifying it as a short track.
Okay,
I don't know why.
Okay,
Bristol's a short track.
Yes.
Martinsville is another short track like that. Yeah. Well, I don't know why they're calling Phoenix a short track, but it's because they're using the short track aero package at Phoenix. So their spoilers are shorter and shit like that.
Meaning that the car stays down tighter, or the car doesn't get as much aerodynamic resistance?
They're constantly fiddle fucking with the different aerodynamics and tires, and to try and put on the best possible show at the different tracks.
Right on. So I would say ranking the two that I watched up until Bristol, Vegas was entertaining. I really liked Phoenix. Phoenix so far has been my favorite of the three that I've seen.
Phoenix was the most hated race of the year by NASCAR fans so far.
Well, I think NASCAR fans probably enjoyed Bristol then, right?
I just watched the race this morning. I haven't seen any of the YouTubes or any of the
okay, so please
Twitter.
Let me know like after this and like comment. Feel free to let us know in the comments what you thought of yesterday's what was it, the Food Town
Food City 500?
Yeah,
I think it's a grocery store or something.
Yeah, like Food Lion, whatever. But yeah, so let us know what you thought of the race yesterday. I personally thought Phoenix, of all of the three that I've seen so far, was the best because there was more interesting. Like what I look for isn't necessarily passing, which I guess is what that's what they're cheering for, is when you pass. But there was like excuse me if my verbiage is off here, but there was like cleaner transitions where you could see when a car was like trying to get to, like, let's say the guy's in third and he wants to get to second, so he would go like all the way out, and you would think like, let's go to the wall and then fucking bring it in so that I can keep the speed. But in the fucking Phoenix one, it was like almost there was a strategy to going to that flat where I'm like, that makes no sense. Yeah, like that makes no sense aerodynamically or like anything. And that dynamic to the race was interesting enough for me to be like, every time it comes to that turn, I'm on the edge of my fucking seat because
it's exciting. They get 4+ wide out there,
and there's like usually, like not usually, but like there's more chance of a wreck. There's a lot more bumping. But you were saying you liked Bristol because it was a lot of bumping, a lot of changing positions, and a lot. It was so fucking slow because of how
there
tight.
was a problem with that tire issue.
Well, that I was gonna get. Yeah, so like there were so
normally they're too wide and it's every corner is chaos, but the top lane was never able to get established because the abhorrent tire fall off that they were having. It was just, and there was so much marbling at the top of the track where apparently when you drive on that, the analysts, I keep saying analysis, the analysts said like, it's like driving on ice when you hit those marbles. So that's normally not an issue that Bristol has, and these are the same tires that they apparently tested in the spring last year. But they tried some new traction compound. It was like a resin compound. I don't know if that was causing the tires to eat up at the bottom. But yeah.
Well, okay, so
I enjoyed the chaos of it because people were spinning out, people were losing tires.
That was what was very irritating to me because it was like, okay, NASCAR to me has always been kind of an avant-garde sport, and it's like it's a technology-based sport, and that like the fastest cars, the highest performance like drivers, but also like the highest performance like automotive technology is usually showcased in it. Not like on a like global scale, but for what NASCAR is, it's like like these are domestic for the most part cars, like cars you can get Camrys, Impala, or not Impalas. What are they racing now? Camaros. Camaros. Pretty good that I fucking know this now. And then I forget what the Ford is.
It's like the dark horse. It's supposed to be a Mustang, basically.
But yeah, so like the three ones you get, it's like these are all readily available cars that you theoretically could go to a car dealership and buy one of these, put the money into it, and make yourself.
No,
but that's just. But like
it's not.
But in my head, it's like you seeing.
It started as that.
Seeing as a Camry, and like there's a Camry on the fucking TV, and it could go like that. In my head, I want to be like as close to that as possible with my car, so there's like some kind of incentive. This was like not a showcase at all of anything. This was like almost like a swan song for something that was like better when it was in its inception, because they kept coming back. I know you said you fast forwarded, but they kept cutting back to like the inaugural race at Bristol, and it was like,
well, they do that every week where they show.
But that was where I was like, dude, like they do this every week, but this one I was like, no, just keep the race off. I want to see this, because it was like 8 fucking cars going 150 miles per hour with no fucking traction control. So they're like,
they weren't going that fast.
Regardless, it looks like more exciting of a race because there's less people. They're perceptively going faster, maybe just from camera angle or whatever. But regardless, it like
Tina said that. She said it looks like they're going slow.
They were so fucking slow. It was so slow. It was like watching fucking glue dry.
They were doing 130 down the straight.
They were doing like 115. I saw them max out at like 119 the one time. Like,
no, I mean that's towards the end of a run. On fresh tires, they're doing 125, 130 down the straights. The straightaway there is only like a quarter of a mile, and then you're diving in the corner at $130. They drop it down to like 80, 85. It's not a high speed track.
That's where I think that was like the biggest grievance I had, was that it wasn't fast. And
I think you would enjoy Bristol had they had a normal Bristol race where it is normally pretty punchy in the corners. There's famous moments there. I mean, it's Bristol, baby. It's a fucking famous quote from Dale Jr. Dale Earnhardt Sr. punted Terry Labonte at Bristol. There's always some last lap drama there at most short track racing. It's NASCAR's roots. That's where NASCAR was established. And totally aside, but yeah, NASCAR used to be stock car racing, and they would just kind of like they would go to a car dealership and buy an Impala, and they would trick that car up to make NASCAR. Now they're racing like $300,000 fucking or $1 million fucking. Yeah. Danny Hamlin said on his podcast, he's like, we're racing Lamborghinis out there, like like cost wise.
I would rather see a Lamborghini on Bristol. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like,
they do that. It's called like IMSA or something like that. It's a sports car, but no, hey, those cars aren't stock cars now. They're literally like, they're all. It used to be each manufacturer had their own, but now with the next gen car, they're getting like cookie cutter cars from like NASCAR itself or from like licensed NASCAR distributors, and like every car is the same. They have a different front clip, so the front looks different. It's aerodynamically like slightly different, maybe slightly advantageous.
Like manufacturer geared or whatever.
Just
so
the
like
look of it.
Yeah,
so
just
it's like, it might have a slight lip or something.
Yeah, so that it looks like the front end, so that they're distinct, like so you can visually see.
But
from
they're
the front
doing that
end,
for an aero advantage too,
right?
So it might perform better at a mile and a half. Like apparently the Fords were performing better at the super speedways or something because of the way their nose is shaped.
I called Chevy took it yesterday. Hell yeah.
It's not. No, they didn't.
Or no, Toyota took it. Who was the Chevy driver? I got that Chevy. That was the most that I won. Was whoever the first Chevy driver.
I think Larson was fifth. Bowman was fourth.
Whoever the
I think you had something on Bowman.
Sure. Bowman was supposed to lose to the guy that was in 30th place the entire fucking race, which that was what I was the 72nd. Whoever the dude that was like 7 laps behind the entire fucking race.
Reddick or
no, it wasn't Reddick. It was someone. It was Bowman and something like 4-letter, not Kyle Busch, but it was like a 4-letter name, like 5-letter name, something short like that.
I
can look it up. But
anyway,
so he right off the bat, what I said was I turned on the race and I was like expecting to be like last week where it's like we're gonna do the national anthem for a half hour, we're gonna do ladies and gentlemen start your engines, do a little like zooming around in the.
Did you see the gentleman start your engines?
No, because I turned it on. I was watching a Phillies game that ended in a tie, and I was like, I'm not missing this. It's now they're woke. They're supposed to say drivers start your engines, but the people they had doing the call yesterday were Richard Petty, the king, part owner of Legacy Motorsports. He's been in the game for 80 years. Whereas Cat Williams calls him Tom Petty.
Yeah. You had Richard Childress. He owned.
I know who he is.
He owned Dale Sr.'s car. He currently owns. Austin Dillon, his grandson, and Kyle Busch's car. Another legend in the sport. He had Joe Gibbs. He owns Joe Gibbs Racing, and Kyle Petty, also involved in Petty Enterprises. He has like 2 or 3 Cup wins. He was a NASCAR.
Is that Richard Petty's son?
Yes.
Right on. Okay.
He was set to have a pretty good career, and then his son died at age 19.
Yikes.
Racing NASCAR, and he kind of took a nosedive after that.
That'll do it.
He kept the machine running. He actually ran his son's car for Petty Enterprises, number 45 Sprint car.
Wow.
Sprint Mobile. But it was like he kind of like really phoned it in. Not phoned it in, but like he didn't have as much success towards the end because, I mean, he's running his son's car to keep the dad's business alive and to keep the sponsors happy who sponsored. But I don't know. Your son dies on the racetrack. It's got to be pretty hard to go to the racetrack every
absolutely.
week. But you're making millions of dollars. You got to do it.
It's like being a lifeguard and your kid drowns.
He was never. It's one of those things where like he was never the same driver after his son died, and like respectfully so. Like I wouldn't expect anything other than that. But yeah, these 4, I mean, all legends in the sport, but they're all like old now, so they're all like. They didn't do the drivers. They said gentlemen, which is like the old school, like, hell yeah, Confederate flags. They're all like, but normally it's like, drivers! This is 4 super rich geezers who were there they were just literally like, gentlemen, start your engines. Like, it was like, there was, they're there every week.
Yeah.
They've been involved in the sport for each like 40 years. I don't know why. I think it might have just been team owners or something because like Rick Hendrick wasn't there, but like every person there was a team owner. So I don't know why, but normally they just have like some kids go up there and be like, yeah, or they have like some celebrity.
Yeah,
it's supposed
BLACKTOOTH Podcast.
No, or they'll have like The Rock or someone like, but I don't know why they had like, they might do this every year, have team owners do it, but it was just like, it was 4 geezers with like no enthusiasm. They were just like, gentlemen, like they were up there. It was like the equivalent of the Marshawn Lynch thing where he's like, I'm only here so I don't get fined. Like they were literally just up there just like, all right, start your engine.
Okay, so that it kind of struck me.
It was a real wet fart of an intro.
This is a nice like actual, because like this is the one, like I said, Bristol in its, to me, has seemed like you said it's a more classic, a more authentic to the origins and roots of what NASCAR is as auto racing.
Rubbin's racing.
So Bristol is definitely like that. So I looked up because they were teasing me, and I know you probably saw it. I know I touched on that. You fast forwarded through the commercials and whatnot, but they were advertising next week's race, which I'm extremely excited about. The Circuit of the Americas.
COTA road racing's fun.
I am looking forward to that. But they kept teasing us the entire time. They were showing the size and the shape of that circuit and how you could fit the last 3 tracks into
I saw that
1/3.
graphic.
Yeah. So okay.
They're like you do. No, it was like the 3 short tracks or something. It was like Richmond,
Bristol.
Phoenix, and Bristol, and it's like, all right, now you're halfway
you're
down
like
the track.
a third of you make it to the first straightaway.
Yeah.
It's like so that was where I'm like, God, what? Like, now you're just teasing me. This is such a dick tease to me.
But you know,
but just hear me out. I understand that Bristol is more authentic to it. This is the origin of the sport. What it strikes me as, though, is that this is me when I'm like, get rid of the pitch clock and stop bringing instant replay into fucking baseball. We're not playing fucking football here. That's like my, like, I get where people are like, it needs to be as authentic to its origins as it can be. Maybe not authentic to the origins, but like it needs to retain something of like where it came from. And I feel like Bristol is like, not the epitome, but it is definitely, like you said, it's favored by a lot of drivers. Drivers had a lot of fun there. It's a highly contested race. I
used to sell out every year,
and
packed.
And I understand that like this is a staple. Like, would you say it's fair to call this an institution in racing?
It's
like,
one of the most like well-liked tracks on the schedule. Sure.
So I looked it up, and I wanted to do a little comparison just from a casual.
Apparently, it's like a shit town. Like, it's like a small town. There's like nothing to do there. You said you looked up Bristol, right?
So I looked up Bristol, and I compared it to Circuit of the Americas because, like I said, this is in my head as a casual. Bristol is like the old guard, and Circuit of the Americas is like the new guard. Would that be a safe assessment?
Yeah.
So Bristol is a smaller, tighter track. As you said, it's only like a mile or a mile.
It's a half mile.
A half mile. Okay, wow. So that's even
5/8 mile.
It's smaller than I thought. So the Circuit of the Americas is like 14 times that. It's like seriously like what, 3.5 miles?
I'm not exactly positive.
Yeah, it's a big track though. It's like gargantuanly bigger than that. Bristol is a circuit. So, and when I say circuit, they're all circuits, but it is a oval. Whereas like I think the Circuit of the Americas is like a Grand Prix style.
It's a road course.
Road course. Okay. So Bristol, and this is where the divergence started. Bristol, in its inception, was a mixed-use, multi-use facility, but it wasn't a multi-use facility for just auto racing. It was meant for football and concerts as well.
It's a coliseum. It's called the last great coliseum.
So the circuit,
it's set up as such.
Yeah,
it's the only track that has seats all the way around the track.
So
that's why it's well liked as well.
So Formula One and motorcycles are what were designed for the Circuit of the Americas. NASCAR, and I read this, it wasn't initially anticipated they were going to do NASCAR on it. I think as they were building it, it was. I'm sorry, you might.
I've never seen a COTA race, a Circuit of the Americas race.
Oh, really?
I got into NASCAR last season. When I watched it as a kid, COTA wasn't on the schedule.
Right.
So the only 2 road courses were Sonoma and Watkins Glen, which I hated as a kid. I like road course racing now. Last year, the first race I watched of the year was Martinsville. I think that's in April. So this is going to be my first watch of COTA. So
right. Okay, so like I said, this is my first watch of COTA as well. And it's like the mixed use for that isn't that it's like a coliseum. It's that it was made for Formula One cars, but it was also made for motorcycle racing too, which I found to be interesting as it's another facet of motorsports. But like motorcycles and NASCAR and Formula One are all like you're comparing apples to oranges to carrots to fucking nuclear. Fucking,
yeah, it's circuit racing versus oval racing.
Yeah,
it's totally different. Totally different.
Bristol and like I'm just doing this to kind of paint the picture of like Bristol is the old guard. Like the architect for Bristol is this guy named Larry Carrier. And there is no Wikipedia page on Larry Carrier. It was the most I could find on him was that he was a local Tennessean, and that at one point, and I'm not sure if he did this at Bristol Speedway or if it was at like the Coliseum, but he is most known because he brokered a game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Hayahoas, the Redskins.
You could say it.
Okay. So the Washington Redskins in the 60s, he brokered a game that was at Bristol, like the sports complex.
Kind of like how they go to England now or something.
Yeah, so he was the guy that brokered that, and he built and architecturally designed Bristol. So like that's all the guy's known for. But the juxtaposition of that is Kevin Schwartz and Herman Hickey One's a German guy, one's an Austrian guy. They were the two architects that designed Circuit of the Americas, and then they ended up reaching out to some guy that does race courses in Dubai and Asia to come and better orient like oriental, but like better orient like the track. And it just why I'm even comparing
it's a newer facility.
Exactly. Like I'm saying, it's like Bristol was like so old guard that I don't think I have the appreciation for the sport to really savor it, and it was very frustrating to me as a casual observer. And Circuit of the Americas was when I was just so eager to see
Bristol another
it.
shot in the fall. I think they'll have. Yesterday was like catastrophic tire issues. Like drivers on the radios were like, "Does NASCAR have like a crisis response center?" Because like I've never seen this before. Goodyear had to issue every team an extra set of tires. I've never seen that.
They needed to get 180 something sets of tires.
144 tires total, and they didn't have. Teams wanted 2 sets because they were losing their tires every 40 laps. Like it was crazy. Normally it's not that bad, but this is what drivers wanted. They want tire fall off because then there's more, when a guy got fresh tires, he would pass the entire field. Only 5 or 6 cars finished on the lead lap. It's the first time that's happened in 20 years. This was a totally different thing, and this new car, it's called the next gen car, is notoriously bad at short tracks. They haven't dialed in the short track package yet. Normally, short track racing is just a lot of beating and banging in the corners.
Which I gotta say, I don't find that as entertaining. I think as you, and it's like that frustrates me to know.
I'm not a casual, but I'm a hack where I'm a super speedway fan. I like big pack racing. I like the draft. I like super speedways.
I like drafting. I think that's cool. I think the strategy of a super speedway was a lot more interesting to watch visually than this was.
I like Bristol though, but like Martinsville, I'm not crazy about. The Gateway at St. Louis is another short track. I'm not. It is they are slower. I see both sides of the coin. I was super pumped for Bristol, and I don't think it delivered. Like I was hyping you up on it.
Yeah, it was very like. That's why I was bummed you couldn't talk because like the whole thing, the lap 72 was where I got in at.
What was your issue at 72? Zane Smith had some shit fall off his car.
It was right before Busch spun out or whatever. That was like the caution. I was like, why did they not call a caution for that? And then I had a question about when they were loading into the fucking pit row or whatever it's called. So he spins out, he goes to the back of the pack, but then when he re-entered only 4 positions lower. How did that work?
I didn't catch. I thought when 72 came up, it was when Zane Smith was in a wreck early, and then he had some. He like spun or he had some shit fly off his car, and then that was lap 72. I saw him going into the pits, and I'm like, what the fuck was confusing about that?
No, it was because there was other people that went into the pits, but like their pole position was illustrated. It was like up 1, down 3, plus 2 seconds, down 2 or whatever. But like there was like 3 cars that just were automatically at the back of the pack that it didn't give any like explanation. It was like because they wrecked, or was it because they went into the pit at the wrong time because they needed work?
It all cycles. But like how long your pit stop is. Shit gets really shuffled up on pit stops.
Well, it's more than it was just a tight track, and I just needed context for that because now like I had money, like not like that I was like like rooting for money or whatever. I was just more confused to the context of like why this guy who I thought like Busch spun out, he should in my head be at like last place, right? But he came back in ahead of a couple people, which I'm like, is that because the time of his pit stop was shorter? Okay, then that like it was like one of those like
pit stops make or break your race, and like the saying's been floating around this week that the new car is so hard to pass in. They say like it's a lot easier to pass cars while they're sitting still on pit road. So if your pit stop is 8 seconds and the next guy's is 10, you're ahead of him.
You've got
on the
like
track.
10 fucking spots ahead of him.
Yeah,
you're way ahead.
You know what I'm saying?
Especially
so, like,
on Bristol, where it was like there was a lot of pole.
I didn't see how much Kyle lost on that pit stop. He might have just came and got tires and bounced, and the other guys might have been fueling up.
All he did was spin out, but he did, like in my head, like I said, when you cause a caution, that makes you go to the back, correct? Like you're at the back of the pack, or you have to go to caution or to the pit row.
You stay where the fuck you are.
Oh, they just slow everything down?
I don't know if you actually. I don't know. I don't want to. I don't know if you go to the back.
Because like that, this is where I'm like, because in my head, I'm like,
I think if you spin and the caution comes out, like I don't know how it works. Because if you spin and then you get it back under you and you pull back in line.
He went back into the pack, but he was like going slower and people were passing him, and that was when the caution went up. Well, I think the other dude blew out and hit the other guy.
Back in the day, they used to race back to the line, which was extremely dangerous, but it kind of left the guess game out of it. Now, when they hit the caution button, the field's frozen. Right. So it's like, is the guy who spun, does he stay in 25th here where he spun because the field's frozen, right? Or does he go to the back? I'm not exactly. I'm ignorant. Again, I'm a pretty, compared to most NASCAR diehards, I'm a casual. I just got back into this last year. I don't know the exact rule there.
Right on.
But I think even if he got, so say technically he's now to the rear of the field, all that is live again when pit road opens up.
Right.
So he probably gained spots on pit road if I had to guess.
Because when pit row still counts like you're on the track. You're just, even though you're not on the track, it's like your position is still important. Okay. So you can't so you can't re-enter the track further ahead, but you can re-enter if you're like slow behind where you were.
What do you mean you can't enter the track further ahead?
Like let's say you do your 8 seconds and then like the pack catches up to you, but you're going to be in first place. You're not going to be in first place. You have to drive all the way around and catch back up to 8th.
Everyone pits.
Right.
But the strategy is if you're in the back, everyone pits. A lot of people will just stay out and gain the track position. Now you're in the front.
Okay.
And now you're praying that there's a caution before you need tires.
Because
it's
then
a gamble.
It freezes, right? So that
it doesn't freeze, but like when the caution comes out, a lot of people are going to pit, so you're not going to lose. Like, it's weird. It shuffles around a lot.
Like I said, if you were there to digest this for me in the moment, I feel like you would have just been like, "Oh, that's that." Like, and that was why I was like, "I know you're not trying to see that. I was trying to be as vague as possible about it too."
I didn't. I stopped looking at anything you said after you were like, "What's with the pit transition on lap 72?" I was like, the whole first portion of the race, I'm just waiting for lap 72. I'm like, and then when it came up, I was like, Zane Smith spun out and went into the pit. I said to because it was this morning, she was getting ready for work. I'm like, I don't know what he was confused about, but it was Kyle Busch's position.
Yeah, well, it was just more like the transition in. I didn't, because he spun out. They made a deal about that. I didn't even realize that other wreck that you were Zane Smith. That wreck I saw happen because that was what they were focusing on. But they went to like Busch spinning out, and I'm like,
he spun out on his own after that.
He might have been after.
I think it was two separate incidents.
It was like there was someone else spun out in that instant. They were focusing on the one, but whoever it was that spun out went into pit row and then came back out. And they were ahead, and I'm like, how does that work? Because they went in with everybody else, but it was like the other guy who was.
Well, if they made it out of pit row, pit road. It's not pit row.
Whatever.
Now I'm sounding like a dumbass too.
It's actually pronounced 9mm parabellum.
Pit road. Now that the only. I guess they must have gained the spot. Kyle must have gained the spots on pit road.
Like because I want to watch one of these.
It's all live. You know what I mean? There's no the laps
replay.
While they're running caution laps. Those count. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
While you go down pit road under yellow, like where you come out, it's like.
I finally saw one finish under caution because something finished under caution for one of the stages yesterday where it was the green and white checkered flag as opposed to the black and white checkered. I think it was the first stage actually.
That's not caution.
What is that?
Stage flags are just green and white checkered.
Oh, okay, well I'm a fucking idiot.
But it's technically they call that a caution, but they're stage breaks. It's a new thing. This is new in NASCAR too. NASCAR never used to have those. They break the race up into 3 stages. Normally the first 2 are pretty short. Like if it's 400 laps, the first 2 stages will be 75 laps each, and then 100 laps each, and then the last stage will be 200. Like It's normally the last stage is a bigger chunk. All they are is like scheduled cautions where it's like, I don't know, I'm not even a huge fan of it. I kind of do like that it bunches the field back up and stuff, and they can get stage points. That does make it a little exciting. That
is it.
Stage wins in the win column mean nothing, but they are valuable playoff points. So you get 10 points to win a stage.
Here's the other thing too, because up until last week, because I watched all of Vegas not realizing that everything was points based, that I didn't know that
points based to a certain point.
Exactly. Well, that's just it. It kind of confused me because
it's way different now.
Because I'm used to so my context to this is horse racing. The closest thing I've ever fucking done where I've followed something that is this is horse racing, and it's such an isolated thing compared to, and I guess that's the word of the day today is isolated, but it is such a different approach to what a race entails. Those are my notes.
How the fuck did that happen? You ash on it?
I hit it on the fucking mic cord, but yeah. Well, that was the Formula One. Max Verstappen.
He's on fire.
Max Verstappen was the name that I had written down there.
I don't even watch Formula One.
Don't like them.
It's not that I have anything against Formula One, but you said it right there. All you need to say about Formula One is Max Verstappen. He won.
That's all I know.
He won 19 out of 20 races last year. That's not exciting. He wins by several 30 seconds ahead of the field.
Well, what I was trying to draw with him, but I just more want to like go like horse racing is the closest thing to auto racing that I am passionate about, or that I will actually like actively watch on.
How does it work in horse racing? Is there like a championship? Points
that's
thing,
just it. Okay,
season? Is there a season long?
So what you do is for horse racing, I was doing it compared, like this is how much research I actually did on this, and these are all like connected and whatnot. NASCAR was unofficially started in 1936, but the first official like circuit race was 1948. Where there was like a championship incentive to it. And then rally car was officially formulated in 1973, and Formula One was 1932, if I'm not mistaken. So these are all like fairly established things, but horse racing, at least organized horse racing, where it's like circuit horse racing, has been traced back to the 1700s, like the early 1700s.
Take a shot every time Joe said circuit while you watch this.
Circuit. You're going to be dead.
It's like, you're at Burt level right now.
I'm the machine! My shoulder hurts. But yeah, so like horse racing like has been around for the longest. And it's like their system is just, you have breeders that get together and they run like local, so there's like local races. You win enough of those where it's not like points based, but you just like have enough, like they put on like a tournament where all sorts of thoroughbreds are ran against one another in this like tournament, and then like you win enough tournament wins and you eventually make your way to like a major race. Whereas like it seems like you have to work your way through leagues. And it's more like the leagues are different kinds of like either automotives or like the race nature, or like, because like trucks and NASCAR are different, but a lot of the trucks guys are like, that's the AHL waiting to get up to the show, right? Sort of.
Xfinity is.
Okay.
Trucks is like the East Coast.
But
like trucks are AA ball, Xfinity's AAA ball, and then Cup Series is the bigs.
So like in horse racing, there is like, it's like almost more parallel to before there was incorporated baseball teams, where there was like 500 unofficial unincorporated baseball teams that the major league would like the Yankees would go play some fucking team in Sarasota, Florida of like scrubs, like Cuban immigrants or something like that, like back in the 40s. And then the major league teams were like, fuck this, we need to gather as many of the good players as we can, so they made all the teams incorporate, and that way they would be feeder programs to the major league. So it was like you had a more direct conduit to like getting better players rather than the sport itself
putting on a better show.
Exactly. But like the sport itself didn't wane, it just like got more concentrated, where like horse racing is still kind of like the Wild West until you get to a certain threshold, and then it's like your horse is a thoroughbred, it meets these certain requirements, so therefore it can run with these people in tournaments, and then once the tournament is like, it has enough points in the tournament, then it can run in like one of the major races. So those are called the Triple Crown, which is the Preakness, the Belmont Stakes, and the Kentucky Derby. And that has been going on since I think the 1880s, if I'm not mistaken. I think all three of them have been together.
The only reason I have some semblance of knowledge about the Triple Crown is because Smarty Jones, back in the day, he almost pulled it off. I remember everyone in the tri-state area was pulling for Smarty. I was in like 4th grade or something.
Biggest one in my household. I wasn't born yet, but there was a 25-year gap between anybody winning the Triple Crown, and the two horses were Citation, and then the next one was Secretariat. And Secretariat.
I remember Secretariat. Wasn't Big Brown more recent?
Yeah, Big Brown was like the close. I think he won the Triple Crown like 2018, 2016, something like that.
It was pretty recent.
Yeah, and then Smarty Jones was a huge one. Almost pulled it off. I think he got nubbed in the Preakness, if I'm not mistaken.
The last leg.
Yeah, I think he was the Preakness. He got.
They shot him and turned him into glue. He actually ran races for several years at the Philly track after his pro career ended.
And he was at Delaware Park a few times. I've seen that horse in person, but before he was popular. Like I saw him when he was an indie band, man. but no. Anyway, what it does though is it does like kind of raise the criticism for me is that like points versus like outright wins kind of like. I don't see the points adding anything to the sport. I get that it makes the championship, like as a championship series, more competitive, and like it gives more of a playoff feel. Like even in the middle of the like regular season, you have more of a reason to want to finish better, and like giving people that are in last place like an incentive to try and finish 10th is like it's kind of cool, but it doesn't do anything.
It's not that anymore though. It used. Okay, so 2003. Matt Kenseth won the championship with only one or two wins on the season, and people didn't like that.
What is it, the World Cup?
No, it was before the Winston Cup.
No, the World Cup. I mean,
no.
Where you
I'm
can
saying
just, like,
the Winston Cup points style thing. There was no playoffs. It was a total of your points on the season. You win the championship.
Right.
And sometimes guys lock themselves into the championship 2 to 3 races before it was even over. So in order to combat that, which people complained about at the time, and now people complain about the chase, and now it's the playoffs. People complain about this, and they want the old thing. Now, one win, and you're basically locked in.
Okay.
I mean, like one win, and you're in the playoffs. So now, it's almost, it's not less points motivated, because you can. There's a lot of times there are 2 or 3 spots left at the end for a guy to point his way in, but it's different now. You could go out and get one win and you're locked into the show.
Well, just even you in explaining this to me, it's like it's not that it's uninteresting. It's just it's a little more convoluted than like a casual like me would approach, because it's like the second you start throwing like how you just
stage points.
Yeah. Like it just becomes like kind of a mess, and I don't think that it adds anything. I'm not saying that I'm going to change NASCAR by saying this, or like I'm going to change.
Most
anybody.
NASCAR fans would agree with you,
but it's like the sponsorship purgatory.
There used to be more points things. You lead one lap, you get a bonus point. There was all these weird. You needed a fucking dictionary to know all the rules back in the day for the points. Now it's almost simplified. It's like there's stage points and there's points for winning, and like that's it. It's almost, that sense is easier. But then there's all these, the playoffs and all this shit. It does get a little convoluted.
So like the points versus wins, sponsorship purgatory, and the lack of personality and team charm is really those are just 3 specific things to Bristol where I was confused the most by those 3 things, because it seemed like Bristol, they were putting way too much emphasis on trying to make things like sponsor. Like the other ones, it's obvious that it's like all these car brands, all these like, like Mako, fucking like, Avis or whatever, they're going to be a major player. The Goodyear blimp, like
NASCAR's
it's obviously
corporate whore.
It's corporate whore.
Yeah.
It's like every event is the Super Bowl, and it's fine. I'm fine with that. But like this one, for whatever reason, it was like very noticeable, because I think it was such a tight track. They just kept throwing it to commercial a lot more.
No, they do, bro. The amount, Tina pointed out this morning, a lot of commercials. They front load the races with commercials, because in the last 50 laps they're going to run clean.
I meant like during like this time, because there was a lot
side by side.
Yeah, it was side by side.
That's been I mean, Brett fucking Griffin, he's on the Door Bumper Clear podcast. He's a NASCAR spotter. He said that because he's not a full-time spotter anymore. He's like in his 40s or 50s, but he does go out and spot like 5-10 races a year. Anyway, he's like, I'm watching the race at home like as a fan on TV, and he's like, there's a lot of fucking commercials on Fox, man. I said to Tina this morning, I don't like watching it on cable. I watch a stream that I found on Reddit. It is like
where the commercial breaks, it just goes to a blank screen, right?
No,
it stays on.
It's the Dubai stream. There's no commercials.
Sweet.
So when Fox is on commercial, there's no commentary, but it just keeps showing the fucking race. So there's no breaks. I enjoy that much better. There's way too much fucking commercials. You miss shit in the commercials.
Yeah.
Now, when I DVR it, I have to just fast forward through them. I can't watch the live stream anymore. Anyway, that's like inside baseball shit. But yeah, I don't. It's fucking ridiculous.
It was just one of those.
Even the one where you go blank screen, I prefer that.
Yeah.
The amount of I don't like side by side. It's fucking distracting as all shit. Just show me the commercials.
Yeah, it was throwing it like I was like I said I watched 100 or excuse me, I watched like 320 laps before I passed out, and then I woke up and watched the last 15. But I watched 320. I would say they went to the side by side at least 3 times. Or the other 2 races, it was like they went once in Phoenix that I noticed, but I also fell asleep like 200 in.
There's a lot of commercials in all of them, man. It's crazy.
But it's like it's just like kind of like really fucking like there already is advertising on the fucking cars. How much do you need to throw it to fucking commercial? But I'm not winning that battle.
I feel like it's more so Fox than NASCAR.
But regardless, it definitely like takes away from at least my viewing experience. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just
I'm going to address that third one first. Or like lack of team personality.
No, just for Bristol, they were like they were because of the tire issue. I know it was like like an actual issue where they couldn't go and like interview the pit crews and whatnot, because they were working like the whole time. They were saying that
tire crew interviews aren't typically a normal thing. You probably saw that in Phoenix when they interviewed the guy. That's not a common. Sorry, that's not a normal thing. So, it's you're like, you see that and you're like, oh, this probably happens all the time. Like that was like a big deal to interview a pit crew guy in the middle of a race. That's not common.
I was like super hyped that like
lack of team personality though, a big critique of NASCAR right now. So remember back in the day, like NASCAR drivers were on everything. Like you'd see Dale Earnhardt on the Wheaties box. You see Jeff Gordon in a Pepsi commercial. NASCAR drivers were superstars. I think it was a question in one of the interviews that went viral or something, but like all of the different NASCAR social media YouTube guys and like even the Dale Jr. podcast and like the legitimate media, the big question this week was like, why is there no superstars in NASCAR anymore? Like I feel like a lot of NASCAR drivers could go to like the Applebee's in South Jersey here and like not even get recognized. Like,
I feel like a lot of them do. We just don't notice it. Like
not
I'm
here.
kidding.
Like down south and like more race fan areas, I'm sure they're getting recognized. They are superstars, but like it's not the same as that golden, 1990 to 2007.
Everybody
when NASCAR
knows who
peaked.
Dale Earnhardt is. Like everybody knows who Jeff Gordon
Dale
is.
Jr.
Like
even Tony Stewart was in all kinds of ads. Michael Waltrip was on like all the Napa
I know
ads. Like,
Bubba Wallace because of the fucking Aaron's commercials, and that's it. And I don't even think he drives Aaron's.
it's
anymore.
just not. It's not there's not like that big name celebrity right now. So yeah, I thought that's what you meant by lack of personality.
No, well, there's also a like the last. So Phoenix, yeah, they got to interview the pit crews, but like I remember there was like a time where, excuse me, part of the like kind of the cool middle part, like once the pack kind of like thins out, everybody's like where they are for a second, they would like go in and give like a little more detailed explanation of the race team and the intricacy of, like I remember this one specific one. I want to say it was Jeff Gordon. I think it was. He was 24, right?
Yep.
Who drove the Interstate, the green?
Bobby Labonte.
Okay. So
that car was awesome.
So the two of them were bumping like into each other like off the rip, and then once like Gordon got in front of him and like just took off, and then when they came in to the pit, they isolated on Labonte or whatever his name is for a while, and he does this thing, goes back out, and then they ran up to him and they were like, what did you notice about being behind, like the pit crew, like what did you notice about the car being behind Jeff Gordon? And whoever the supervisor or whatever would
Fatback McSwain
would just like explain like real quick. It's like
he's running us pretty dirty. They used to interview the crew chiefs all the time.
Yeah. Tina segment. How you feeling?
My feet fucking hurt bad.
My shoulder hurts.
Oh, him too. You guys can talk about that.
I've been bumping tips the entire time.
Bumping mics.
But yeah, like just like there was like more, like I felt like I got to learn more about the race. Maybe it's just me noticing that shit more, but like it was like as a kid I felt like it was a more informative show, like programming. I
think they're still very informative. They're always cutting away to Larry Mack, America's crew chief, and he has like the 3D digital thing of the car, and like this is the draft, and they show the air molecules.
That was
they kept showing the toe link graphic yesterday. They're trying to find ways to make it interesting and exciting. I think they're still very informative, but I think there was a lot more personality in NASCAR back in the day.
Yeah, I just feel like I knew that when I was like watching this, it's like where I want to know about that guy. And there was one thing too at Comcast's what should we call it? Not DVR. What was it? On Demand's inception. Do you remember there was a feature that used to be able to go car to car? Like every channel was a specific
you can do that.
But it was like
not on Comcast.
It was like on Comcast. Like it was like one of their things. I remember doing that with Tom Rink.
Like NFL Red Zone. I don't remember the NASCAR version.
Yeah, Tom and I were watching an old NASCAR. Like he came over to my house. We had digital cable. He put on the video on demand. It was like 900 to like 940 or whatever. It was like one channel was the race, and then every single one was like the drivers.
In-car camera.
Yeah, there was their in-car. Some of them were like the what's the lead car, the thing that goes around.
Pace car.
Pace car. Thank you.
I bought. For the season, it was $30 for like the NASCAR app, like premium version, and during the race, you can listen to any driver's radio comms, and then you can also view any of their in-car cameras if you want. Nice. That's another way to watch without commercials. There's no commercials on that. It's just their in-car, and it stays live. So like when they wreck and they're towing the car back to the garage.
Do you want to do
Jackson? Yeah, I don't care.
Hollywood. Yo, Hollywood. Dude, what is with him hanging up?
He said, I don't want to be on this stupid podcast. I just wanted to ask you to switch to wash.
Let's see what.
Plug your dates.
Hello?
Am I on the podcast?
Paging
yes,
doctor.
You are.
How can I be on the podcast? It's 3 o'clock. You should be done by now.
No, we started
got a
late.
late start.
Yeah, we started late. I was at the gun range.
Yeah, I saw the video.
I know. BJ called me.
I know he did.
Yeah. What do you got to plug, Jay?
Well, Wednesday up at Red's Tavern, Meadowlands. I'm back in the...
Are you in a wind tunnel?
No.
Turns turn his volume up. Can you do
He's
that?
as loud as it'll go.
Anyway, Wednesday at Red's Tavern, Friday at someplace else in Waterford Works.
Very, very specific.
Listen, it's posted. It's posted somewhere on my Facebook, Instagram. I have all those social media. Facebook, Instagram, talk.
You're on TikTok now?
Yeah, he's on TikTok. He got some lady to do his. He got a logo made. That looks.
That's where we got the most views on something.
It's TikTok.
Yeah.
20 something.
I forget how many, but that's a good one. That's a good one to be on. I hate TikTok, but you got to be on it.
Oh, I do too. But you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Fucking Asians,
and
man.
Then let's see what else. Then a week from Friday, I go back down to Delmar, Delaware, for the funniest person Delmarva semifinals. And if I win, if I come in the top 3, then I go to the finals, which is April 20th.
Oh.
420, man.
Blaze it.
You gonna blaze up before the show?
No, I won't.
Yeah. I can't make that one.
I will not, even though Joey keeps trying to get me to.
You're trying to peer pressure Jay?
I'm not trying to peer pressure him. I told him that he performs better when it's like the Stone Dojo. So he was upstairs practicing the other day. I ripped like 2 bongs when he was fucking doing his practice.
Getting Jay contact high?
Yeah, dude. Wait, Jay, tell how he thinks he avoided a situation. I said this would have been great for his career, but when you were at the Stone Dojo, or you missed the incident at the Stone Dojo the other day, why don't you tell Jake about that?
Well, see, I got pussy whipped for a short period of time.
Yeah, his girlfriend broke up.
My girlfriend at the time wanted me to stop doing Saturday shows, so I had to cancel 2 shows on one Saturday and another one, and one of them was at the Stone Dojo. So the Stone Dojo is this place in Toms River where people actually smoke pot inside, but after a certain time they have to lock the door. So somebody had gone out and then got locked out and was pounding on the door, and everybody inside thought it was the cops. So everybody ran out the back of the Stone Dojo, past the stage, through the green room, and out the back door, where a guy was making empanadas out of a truck.
It's like Joey Diaz on the fucking.
Why do they have to lock the doors? This is like a lockdown at Sessions. Like,
I don't know. You know what? If you come to my show at the Tennessee Avenue Beer Hall on April 25th, you can ask Paul Field, No Filter Paul. He's going to be there. He's the one that told me all about it because he was emceeing the show.
Jay's chummy with No Filter Paul from Stern.
I don't. So you're locked out, but you're not locked in.
No, he's locked. They lock the people, like they lock the door so nobody can come in, but they're like hotboxing in there, so they don't want it to like.
That's gay.
I agree, but Jay
don't
was
go there. Fucking bunch of fucking. I hate potheads. Dude.
Yeah, potheads stink.
We're gonna bake it out, man.
Anyway, I missed the show because I canceled because
because this guy got laid, dude. Fuck
he getting his meat touched. That's exactly it. He's got no.
That's way better than
no
stand-up.
hookers for him, man. Like he had it on steady.
So it didn't work out with Miss. What was
Gina?
it? Gina
Capuccio.
That fucking bitch.
She wanted me to quit comedy, and I said no.
Yeah, you can't. That's a red flag. You can't be calling shots like that early in a
She's
relationship.
trying to grow his hair out too.
On the second date, I told her that I might have to be going to England to do a couple weeks touring in England, and her question to me was, "Why would you want to do that?" And I just looked at her and I thought to myself, "Do I really have to answer this question?"
Why would you want to be a nurse, you dumb bitch?
Oh. Yeah, it's weird that she would want to, not shit on your dreams, but I don't know how to word it. But
yeah, she was definitely shitting on his dreams. Yeah,
shit on my dreams is a good way to put it.
Well, but it's not like you're someone who's like a starving artist. Like you're,
yeah,
you're
well
doing
off.
fine. You're financially stable. Like
it's that
why
he was
you
taking
have
attention
the
away from
freedom
her.
to do it.
She wanted me to be available for her 24/7 at her beck and call at her will, and that's not how things work.
No,
especially when it didn't work the other way around.
Yeah,
it was like,
yeah.
So it was like, nah, that's not.
She could have came and supported you instead of.
Yeah, I kept asking her to bring morphine. It was making the show better.
You know what? I don't care about the support as much as I was really pissed off about her, just wanting me to quit altogether. No, I enjoyed it. Until you've done it, you don't understand what kind of feeling it is to walk off a stage after making people laugh at stupid shit you said, and it's like, wow, that's pretty cool.
It's a rush.
Especially off a stage like Rodgers in New York. That was really, I mean, that was really like a natural high.
Yeah.
You know,
Every comic talks
show.
about that, how it's like they can't fucking fall asleep in their hotel room after they do a show on tour. Like, it's like a huge rush.
It is. It absolutely is. And it's it's a good feeling because, you know, if you sit there and you say, hey, look, you know, I went out there, I was able to make people laugh. Maybe I turned somebody's mood around. Maybe I helped somebody out. You know, that's neat, you know, to be able to do stuff like that. But it's just, you know, I would never ask anybody to quit something. Now, you guys sound like you're in a wind tunnel. You guys like...
We're sitting on my porch.
Yeah,
it's
we're
a little
outside.
breezy out here.
So, anyway. But, yeah, so that was a short-lived relationship, which I'm cool with because I don't want anybody telling me what I can and can't do, especially with something I love so much. And apparently I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah, I think we've all had experience with a lady who wants to, you know, tell you not to do some things.
Yeah.
But
Stop smoking crack.
All right, that might just be a Joe issue. Tina lets me do this dumb podcast, and she never has any qualms about it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
On to bigger and better. Was she hot, Jay?
I mean, she was very attractive. She was very attractive.
I find myself more eager to try and stick around and put up with the bullshit when they're hot. So I could see why you were pussy whipped, and I don't fault you for it.
Definitely
It
helps.
wasn't. Listen, it wasn't. You know, it wasn't a choice, man. I love doing comedy, and I'm not going to have anybody tell me that I can't or that I should stop or ask me a question. Why in the world would I want to go to England and perform?
Yeah, why not?
That's got to be one of the dumbest questions.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
You know,
who the fuck?
But
even if you just wanted to go to England to fucking sightsee, like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you want to
I'd
go
love to
on a
go to
trip?
England. Yeah, right?
what? The fact that you're going to get to do some shows while you're out there, like, that's a bonus.
Dude,
Yeah,
why wouldn't
so-
she want to tag along?
get to go see some
Or get-
slogs.
Yeah.
you know, and she was like, she was like making faces when I told her about the show I'm going to do in April with Steve Trevino. You know, that's going to be a crazy show.
I mean,
Is she not a comedy fan? Is
Oh,
she
no,
like,
she wanted me to go take her to see Matt Rife in Atlantic City.
no, so she's not a comedy fan.
what a cunt. Matt Rife stinks.
He's a terrible comedian. He's just popular because he's TikTok
hot.
He's TikTok hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like
He's a very attractive man, but
yeah, he's just
he is pretty funny too. I've seen him on some
Hey,
podcasts and stuff.
he
It's not
looks-
he's not funny, but his demo is just fucking.
Yeah, the worst.
Women.
It's, fucking Taylor Swift fans. Like
Yeah.
it's really they're the Swifties that want to laugh when they don't want to just clog fucking.
He
subways.
stole that role from Dalia.
Yeah,
Dalia used to have all the
Dalia
chicks
was-
at his show, and then
Yeah.
had some allegations, but
Well-
that's neither here nor there. But
No.
yeah, that's
Well,
lame.
that's one thing I can't. The hack stuff, that's not cool. You know, if you can't come up with your own stuff, don't even try.
What?
Don't even try.
What are you talking about? What?
That's not what hack
Didn't
means.
you say he stole? You said he stole.
No, you just-
No,
he stole it.
hack just means like he's corny.
Yeah,
like
he's
just
corny, like a joke.
No, hack means that he's stealing.
He thinks that what you're saying is that because
It
Matt
means
Rife,
both things,
he
but-
thinks you're interpreting Matt Rife's comedy as being Chris D'Elia's comedy, but
No,
what
no,
you're saying is they just stole his crowd because it's all dumb chicks.
Oh, stole his
Yeah,
crowd.
Chris
Okay,
D'Elia
I
was
thought he
accused
stole-
of, like,
I thought he
rapey
stole
stuff,
Some
so-
of his stuff.
No,
I
no,
thought he
no,
said
no.
he stole some material.
No, when I say hack, I just mean like he's like a hack job.
Yeah, he's not funny.
Yeah.
Well, he gets laughs, I guess, but not from us. Like,
Yeah.
what?
And your laughs are the most important laughs, so that's really,
That's who matters.
Yeah,
Can't
really.
be fun, right?
Yeah, I guess. I'm not laughing. Yeah. Well, all right. Where else are you gonna be? Anywhere? You gonna be at the house?
Well, I'm waiting for confirmation, but April 12th.
How was your ice cream last
somewhere
night?
in New Jersey.
He didn't eat it.
Why not?
He forgot. It was in the freezer.
What? What did I forget? What did I
Your
forget?
ice cream in the freezer.
Your custard.
How are you
No, I
on a
didn't- I didn't forget
podcast
about
and
it.
you're
I
not
just did another
listening?
last night. I didn't want to. So all right, yeah. So like April 12th, I should be doing a show at Tommy's basement.
Yeah, Tom Rink's basement. He's just doing a pod.
No. Not the
He's
club.
going up to
I don't know, did they
Pennsylvania.
book him for a birthday party?
Yeah,
Go
he's
look up
and the magician.
Tommy's basement. Go look up Tommy's basement. It's a club.
It's the
Right
11,
on.
the 11R basement.
Sponsored by Traction Motorsports.
Yeah. I'll be in a bunker.
Sure. All right. All right. Well, we got to wrap this up. Talk to you later. I'll see you in a
Okay.
little bit, Jay.
All
Love
right,
you.
bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, Chase Crockett, everybody. I gotta get out of here. What else you want to talk about? You got anything else before we put a pin in this bitch?
No.
No.
Just I already mentioned it was that lady accusing me of stealing. That annoyed me.
I could just tell you something funny to leave on just because I brought all my guns here and showed them to you earlier. Do you know what the difference?
Wrap up your NASCAR. We were in the middle of finishing that up. What else you got?
That was it. That was just it. I just
personality.
said. I said that the three things that I took were points versus wins. If they would have just made something that was like a track that small, where it was like, fuck it, instead of 500, we're gonna do 200, and whoever wins. I would watch that more than I would watch what we watched yesterday. But like you said, the caliber of race was off.
But not that you're wrong, but wins are more prevalent than points now, which it's kind of flipped. Points still do matter, but wins are paramount.
It's
and then the other
sponsorship purgatory. Like I said, it was like they're already advertising on the cars. I don't see why we need to throw it to commercial as hard. It might be Fox, like you said, probably is Fox, like 99% Fox.
NBC does it too.
NBC probably, like, you know,
it's so overdone.
And then the lack of personality and team charm. That was just, like I said, like I felt like I was a little bit more intimate the earlier inception of the sport that I was watching. This iteration seems a lot more it's
a lot less crew chief interviews and but they do it in the lower series. But I feel like there's so much not at stake, because I mean there was a lot at stake back then too, but you don't see as many interviews on top of the pit box anymore.
Yeah.
Like the crew, the top of the pit box totally different. It's like guys with laptops and they all look like fucking scientists and shit. Like it's totally different now. Totally different ballgame.
So it's just those three things. Like I said, like I feel like I know more about, like when I get ready to start watching horse racing, it's like I know more about like the horse, the breeder, like the jockey even. Like I know where the jockey's from at the least most of the time. I know like where the horse is from, who its parents are, so the genetics, what steroids it's on, like, you know, shit like that like they scrutinize. You just watch ESPN. It's not like I'm doing anything extraneous, but it's like to get like to that information, like where it's like,
I think they do give a lot of information, but I feel like yesterday's race was bogged down by all the tire woes.
Yeah,
they just kept talking about tires.
It was a hard one to kind of get, I think, the point across. And
my wrap up to that was just give Bristol another chance in the fall. And what would have made it, like, say the race came down to the wire and they were bumping into each other to cross the line, like, would have that made it? No. That's what gets most people going, is the finish. That
was like actually kind of irritating to me, how much they were running into each other. I was like, could they put like less cars on the track or something?
Or even if they're not running into each other, but it just comes down to the wire. That's, as a fan, not that I need every race to be a photo finish, but I want there to be a contender on the last lap to maybe have a shot, because then you're like, oh, is he gonna get there? But like,
a race coming down to the wire is one thing, but the entire race just bumping into each other is like very frustrating to me, because I'm like, you're not supposed to do that. It's like if somebody it would be like constant,
they're like moving each other out of the way.
Yeah, it's like constant handball in fucking soccer or something like that, or like if like I don't know.
You're saying too many cautions, like
even too many cautions. It's like they're not supposed to hit each other. So I get that they bump each other out of the way, but it's like where
they're not supposed to hit each other.
Like you're not supposed to do. Like, is there should be like
this isn't F1. They're allowed to beat and bang.
But it's just
Robin's racing,
it's just
Joe.
Fucking
Robin's racing.
Stupid. Like you're just gonna cause an accident. Like
that's. You're trying to move someone out of the way without causing an accident, but sometimes it causes an accident.
And like I said,
sometimes you wreck yourself.
Like I said, if there was like 20 less cars on there, it was less laps, something, it would have been more entertaining to me. But it was like it was like watching a traffic jam, and it frustrates me.
I liked when the leaders would catch up to the last lapped cars, and it was akin to when we were go-kart racing and you'd catch up to a black kid.
Oh, and they're so
and
fucking...
it's like, how am I going to get around? I liked watching the leaders struggle in traffic to try and... Because then it bunches it a little back up again.
I guess I did. I wasn't seeing that aspect.
So Joe is going to be a road race fan, I'm presuming.
I think. Like,
but I was going to say earlier when we were talking about it, road racing can get a little boring.
I find it more
They can get a little spread out. I'm saying as far as... There's a lot of battles in the middle of the pack.
That's just it, yeah.
But the leader could break away by 30 seconds on a road track.
So battling, I think, is more like where it's like more like 2, 3, 4 cars battling in packs is
jockeying for position.
Way more interesting to me than just watching a traffic jam go in a circle. That's so boring. Like, it was so boring. I get that they're moving each other out of the way.
There was more lead changes yesterday
it was so hard. It was so hard to fucking like concentrate on that when you're just watching a blob of traffic. It's stupid to me. Where if I see 4 guys and I'm like, okay, that guy clearly is faster than the dude that's leading it, but this guy's just going all over the place so they can't pass him. Like, that's what I want to see. I don't want to see just fucking something that I could see on the BQE on fucking 4 o'clock on a Tuesday. It's not interesting to me. And I get it that it's like to nuanced fans or like to people that have appreciated the sport. Yeah, it's bumping, it's grinding, it's pushing each other out of the way. They're changing positions a lot. But for me, let it spread out. Let the thing breathe a little bit. It's a fucking car race that's 500 fucking laps long. Why does it have to just be high blood pressure the whole fucking time? It's just no. Like, let it fucking be fun. Like, let there be some fun. Let it breathe.
Most people find it boring when it's spread out and they're just running parade laps around.
It's not even parade laps. Like I said, it's more like the races that occur within the race are more interesting, or infinitely to me more interesting than just watching a big circle, because
that's all NASCAR is.
Not next week. It's a big fucking tulip shape.
Well, yeah, there's like 36 races, and I think it used to be 7, but I think it's now 6. 6 road courses. So most of the races are ovals, Joe.
Well, 7 of those races,
sizes.
my dick is going to be
Talladega's coming up. Maybe you're more of a super speedway guy.
Well, like I said, the super speedways are interesting because they're going 230 miles per hour.
They're doing like 190.
It's still over 120 miles per hour, which was like the max. The highest I saw someone. I know you said they got faster.
125, maybe.
But yeah, it's like a third of the speed probably of what on flat that car is capable of fucking doing. Like, realistically, if they fucking got rid of all the weight regulations and shit, let that thing just completely let that thing run.
Rusty Wallace told a story this week on Kenny Conversation about how they took the restrictor plates off during some test, and he ran 242 miles an hour, and the front end started lifting up and getting wonky.
Like, I am more interested in that shit because
you're of the camp that NASCAR needs to add more horsepower.
Yes.
Because right now they're only running 650. Back in the day, they used to run over 1,000. But that's a totally different issue.
Maybe stop.
You just don't like short track racing. It's too much of a fucking clusterfuck.
Well, like I said, like they're showing those old ones. There was like 8 fucking cars and they're all spread out, and then they're like fucking spinning out, but the race is still going. I'm like, that is way more my speed. Like this, get classic cars out there. Just be like, all right, we're not doing for Bristol next season, next year or whatever. We're getting rid of these fucking new bullshit cars. We're going to a fucking junkyard. We're getting a bunch of Pontiacs.
That's never gonna happen.
We're gonna.
There's been talk of
straight 8s.
So Xfinity didn't race Bristol, but Xfinity at Martinsville is chaos. They're completely different cars. They're more similar to the cars 10, 15 years ago. They're old.
At Martinsville?
No, Xfinity runs those cars year round.
Oh, okay.
But the Xfinity puts on better races at short tracks. So like, there's not been any legitimate conversation, but different media outlets spitballing the idea around like, hey, let the Cup guys, because the Cup cars are so bad at short tracks, they're like, let them run the Xfinity cars during the short track races because it puts on a better show. I don't know if that would make a difference.
That would make a huge
difference. But there's more chaos in the Xfinity races. There's more bumping and grinding.
But does it spread out more and does it go faster?
Bristol normally spreads out more because there's normally 2 lanes. Bristol's normally electric. Like, it's normally insane. Like, it's like one of the most revered races of the year. But because that top lane was never able to come to fruition yesterday is why it put on a bad show in your eyes. I think you would like Bristol. Like, if you watch the Bristol race from like year 2000, it's electric. Like, you can't even like.
I was making
it's insanity.
Analogy to my dad. This is the equivalent of watching when you're at like Playland or Wonderland, and they have that thing where it's like the elephants that you hit the little thing, it goes up, and it goes. It's like you either can go up or you can go down. It was so fucking I'm not like saying it was boring. It's cars going fast, running into each other, wrecking out. There's fucking tire chunks blowing out all over the fucking race. They have to bring a street sweeper.
There was a large portion of that race where it was, just kind of going through the motions. That's what NASCAR. That's kind of what NASCAR is, though. You're just trying to survive till the end.
The Phoenix one was so injured. It was so much more like. And you're saying that NASCAR fans didn't like
Phoenix. It got like an 80% on the Jeff Gluck
I did
poll.
write this down, and I wasn't gonna say it just because I know we do have racing fans out there, but I have to say based on my personal person-to-person interactions with racing fans, you are of the camp, not the most egregious of them, but I feel like racing fans are really fucking stubborn and like set in their ways, which it kind of is like part and parcel to like where the origins of racing come from. So I understand that it's like, crows don't raise canaries, and this opinion doesn't come from nowhere.
For sure. And like the biggest thing I see on like NASCAR Facebook and stuff is like, NASCAR died with Dale in 2001, and like people are so hung up on like the glory days of NASCAR, and it's like it's never going to be that again. But they still put on a good show.
Give it the opportunity that so let's look at hockey. Hockey was at its heyday in like the mid, like I'm not even talking about the Flyers or Broad Street, but Dave Schultz revolutionized the way fighting was in the sport, so that hockey now had an entirely different dynamic in the 70s with the advent of the Broad Street Bullies. Like once they were there, every team now had to find a tough thug guy to fucking play, where you now have a goon on fucking, you have a gorilla, a fucking grizzly bear on ice skates,
you need an enforcer.
and you need someone to fucking, that you can't just have like fucking, you need a fucking Bobby Orr to get there, but you need like an enforcer
Someone
to fucking
protect them.
Yeah, so and then like them bending the sticks, like all of these things were like just inventions that kind of like added and supplemented to the game, but they didn't make the game entirely about that. Whereas like I feel like NASCAR makes like so much emphasis, at least from where I'm at with viewing the sport and like my observations on it from the last 3 that I've watched,
cash,
where they just they're more like throwing like the like just throwing throwing all like the just new stuff, and like this is what we're improving, and like this is the technology and whatnot. It's like, yo, at the end of the day, make the cars go fucking faster, and like, and that's
99.9% of NASCAR fans, drivers, and teams want more horsepower.
That's like
NASCAR is bogging them down at the 650.
Like it just
190 top speed at a super speedway is despicable. They used to run 210.
But like just like looking at it from my perspective, where yesterday I can see on a thing how fast the car is going, and a week ago I compared the fucking speed.
They were only getting like 160,
but
170.
that's still fucking, I can't do that in my car. I can do 120 in my car. Like, just give me a little something to aspire to, or like,
short tracks, it's just logistically you can't go that fast.
And I
like,
get
it's
it.
just
I get
the
it.
nature of the beast.
It just seems like an archaic thing, where I get that the drivers and like the general consensus of the sport likes this because it is a little old, but it just seems very stubborn and set in its ways, where it's like someone new like me.
That's why there's only a handful of them on the schedule.
And like
the
I said,
meat and potatoes of NASCAR are tracks like Phoenix and Vegas. They're mile-and-a-half intermediates. Like, I know Phoenix is called a short track now. It's an intermediate. Most of the tracks are mile-and-a-half ovals. Put on a great show, but I don't know.
No,
I think
I thought
said, you would more like the beating and bang and shit. That's what most casuals they want to see wrecks. They want to see guys spinning each other out. And
wrecks,
chaos.
But the beating and the banging got so overshadowed by the fact that I'm just watching a traffic jam, and that was like you said. It's not every Bristol is going to be like that. Not every race is going to be like that. But it was a very much like
it is. I feel okay. So I'll compare it to the Coliseum. They run in LA. It's the first race of the year. It's not a points race. It's like an exhibition or whatever.
I remember watching that while I was dating Sonia.
I feel that way about that race. I think it's just a fucking traffic jam. It's a clusterfuck. Like so I can see where you're coming from with Bristol. I don't know. I enjoyed it, but
well, I can give you the three. Like
I kind of enjoyed it. Like, and I felt during like 2 laps, 200 to 400, it's kind of just like, all right, I'm just waiting until the last segment. Like, it's like, who's this going to come down to? Because like, but I was also happy just to be sitting in cruise control because the team I like was 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's like, it's kind of, I have like more of a bias. I mean, there's only a few people I don't like, but I don't like to see William Byron win. He wins too much. And he spun out early and was like 7 laps down. That's exactly I'm in no danger, Joe Rogan. I'm fucking chilling.
You were trying to remember who it was. I had a head-to-head who were the two that were going to race, and the one dude like ended up finishing like 6th or something, and then it was Byron fucking spun out.
A tough day.
And that was, so I was trying to figure out why the fuck he was 7 laps behind, and it was like because he spun out.
He broke a toe link early in the race.
But they didn't let him they didn't let him change the fucking car or the toe link or
you can't change the car mid-race. Once your car's undrivable at a certain pace.
Why didn't he just call it then? Because he's clearly not going to win.
You get points for finishing. You have to finish. The goal, no matter what, is to finish.
Oh, okay.
Even if you're running 10 seconds off the pace and you're 20 laps down, they still want to go out and finish. They don't not run unless it's like undrivable. Like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, it had a dog shit day. It sucks to be fucking 7 laps down and just getting lapped over and over again. But
staying on the flat part of a fucking inverted fucking racetrack.
You're just trying to the goal, no matter what, when you run a race, is to finish the race. There's something to be said for finishing the race.
Right.
That's an accomplishment within itself. No matter where you finish, you finished. Guys don't want DNFs.
Did not fart.
Did not finish. So, yeah, that was a shit day for Byron. But he broke a toe link and to repair that took a while. And they only have like 6 minutes or something, but that track it's only 15 seconds a lap, so he lost several laps there. And then once that's a major component of the steering or whatever, so it probably wasn't handling as good, so he was running off the pace the whole day.
Okay.
So he just, and I don't want to not root for someone or whatever, but like he's like rooting for fucking Tom Brady last year. He had 6 wins. Like that's huge. That's a huge.
Well,
so it's like he wins too much. Fuck
you know
that
who
guy.
my guy is? I mean, Ricky Stenhouse.
Joe loves Ricky Stenhouse
because he's got a cool name.
He does have cool cars.
No, he has a fucking name that is a racing name. Right
He is
there.
a Daytona 500 champion.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., right?
Yeah, Stenhouse.
That's a fucking racing
yeah.
name right there. Like that's someone that like why is this guy not like
He's
on
a
the
guy I
Wheaties
like to root
box?
for because he's an underdog, and he was up in the top 10 at one point. I'm like, oh, there he is.
Yeah,
There he is.
you got to 11. Like I was like up there. It's like you're throwing money into a fucking furnace, and then like you should
At
put out
Bristol,
Kyle Busch,
probably.
and then Kyle Busch
And it's not even a knock against Ricky. He's just
Ricky Stenhouse.
he's in a mid-tier team. Your equipment plays a massive role in NASCAR. So to consistently be able to win, you pretty much have to run for JGR, Hendrick Motorsports, or Penske. Like that's like
or Chick Racing.
There's
Hannah
I
Chick.
know Collie gets some wins. I know our RFK has a few wins too. There
RFK.
Roush, Fenway, Keselowski Racing.
Oh, okay.
Roush used to be a huge team, and then he was struggling in the 2010s or whatever. And the guy who owns the Red Sox Stadium, Fenway, he bought in. He's like buddies with Roush somehow. So then it was Roush Fenway Racing. And then Brad Keselowski, who's a current driver.
I know him. He's got a big red car, right?
Left the 2 car at Penske, and he joined team. Like he's a part owner of the team he drives for. So he'll be an owner after he retires from driving.
Cool.
So it's Roush. It's RFK for short. Denny Hamlin does it now. He's a team owner with Michael Jordan. He doesn't drive for his own team, but so he drives for Gibbs and he owns Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace's cars.
That's pretty funny. And he won last night, right?
He bumped Bubba out of the way, and the announcers were going crazy. They're like, "Hey, he owns that fucking car, man. He can do whatever he wants. Get out of the way, Bubba."
It's pretty funny.
He literally just shoved Bubba out of the way, and like Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer were fucking dying. It's funny. I enjoyed yesterday. They showed old clips of like Kevin Harvick was a pretty fiery guy, and they had multiple clips of him like throwing his helmet or like spazzing at the end of a race, and like slow-mo him, he looks like crazy. Like Jamie Little was literally she was like, "You look crazy."
I saw that. Yeah, there was like a shot of like a vein popping out of the side.
He was literally in the booth. They showed him, and he was just like had the shit-eating grin. It made me crack up because there was just like a highlight reel of all his spaz moments. And he's just like, "Yeah, I was a passionate driver." He had to like try and address it professionally, and he was like, "I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. I'm just up here chilling." Like,
if we could put a pin in NASCAR, if there's anything else you want to touch on, I want to actually my little highlight of the day, because I can bring up my fucking passion to the baseball. It's funny you mentioned commentators, because one of the things I love about baseball is when they have commentators that you really fucking like. And there's this guy used to play for the Philadelphia Phillies. His name's John Kruk. He was the first baseman, and he's a commentator now for the Phillies. So Harry Callis's kid, Kane Callis, and Kruk once in a while will do commentary together, and they're the dynamic.
Does Kane have a similar cadence?
He plays fucking poker professionally, so he'll be on the streams that I watch, and he talks, and I'm like, that's fucking Harry. It's like you can hear it's like he's younger.
Towering royal flush, deep center field. It's a drive. It's out of here.
It's
I punked
out
it up.
of here.
I lost on the flop or the river, whatever the fuck.
And the turn card is a king of spades.
And I'm out of my mortgage.
And the
foreclosure's imminent.
The queen of spades just broke into my car in the parking lot. It's out of here. All right, anyway.
R.I.P. Harry Callis.
Yeah, I love Harry.
What a
dude.
legend.
But yeah, so like there's like commentators that are on the Phillies broadcast, but they're down in Clearwater right now, so it's not the normal commentating group. But Kruk went down there, and it was him and like the 2 guys that do spring training, and because it's St. Patty's Day, they were all fucking drinking, but they just weren't like drinking on camera. But you could like hear them giggling to each other in the booth, and like taking there's supposed, like throw, it's like, and the pitch, and then it's like longer than it's supposed to be. Ball one. Like, they're sipping and muting their mics.
Hell
Dude,
yeah.
I was having a blast with that, and then just something really weird doesn't happen often in baseball, in general, because there's always extra innings, but preseason they don't give a fuck. So the Phillies game ended in a tie yesterday, 9-9.
There was some online accusations on like Reddit or even in the stream I was watching in the comment section of the truck race, of Michael Waltrip, one of the announcers, being hammered. Because he was like slurring his words and he was all like giddy and shit. Like he's all like, I don't know. He was probably just amped up, but everyone was like, dude, Waltrip's hammered tonight.
Dude, there's whenever you get a good drunk commentator.
I don't mind it. He's not driving a car. Let him have a few cocktails. He's fucking funny. Like
that's fucking like I think commentators drinking is one of the best. There's that dumb fucking Hank Azaria show where he like is a minor league baseball commentator and he's just drunk the entire time. I forget what it's fucking called. I want to call it fucking whatever the other one is. Lee sends me shit to watch, but yeah. Anyway, so the one thing about baseball that it's like similar to your like you have very like emboldened opinions on like where NASCAR is and like what you like, what you don't like, and I'm a casual, so I like what I like.
To me, NASCAR is my baseball to you. It's one of those games or races, whatever, where you can just chill out. It's like a long form. Yeah. Like you know what I mean. So even if you miss a few minutes, as long as you're there at the end, you know you're gonna get. You know what I mean? Like so it's not as like baseball and NASCAR. It's not the same as like a hockey or a football where it's just constant. You know what I mean? Right. There is more of like
an ebb and a flow, but it's more like it's more stretched out. Yeah. So I was gonna say
like a baseball game is what 3-4 hours. Well, now there's the pitch clock.
I was gonna say like that's what the only questions I have for you are: do you like the pitch clock?
Love it.
And what do you?
As a casual baseball fan, I love.
Do you? Okay.
Yes.
And then do you like the sign? Well, I guess this is more tied in the pitch clock. But do you like the thing? We touched on it again, where the pitcher and the catcher communicate with the fan side of the sign. You don't like that.
I used to like the little different hand signals.
There's the only reason I mentioned
I'm sure it's much better for the players and more efficient. Well, so I used to love seeing the catcher just do the.
So, yeah. So okay. So you like the
pitch personality to that.
You like the pitch clock because it speeds the game up. But is there anything about it specifically that you do like that? I'm
not a huge baseball fan, so the fact that we can get in and get out in 2 hours,
perfect.
I loved it, and I watched a few playoff games at Tina's parents' house with the in-laws, and like they're huge Phillies fans, but like it's just. My grandpa always used to complain about it. You know, the whole step out of the box, tighten your gloves, fix your bubble gum, fucking scratch your nuts. Like they did. I don't necessarily think there needed to be a clock, but they really could fucking drag it out. No, and he was a baseball fan, but he'd be like, this guy stepped out 4 fucking times. Like, come on, let's go. He was a Mets
fan too, right? They were like a notorious...
Just by proxy.
I was going to say, they were like a notoriously
He wasn't an avid fan. He mainly watched Phillies games because that's what was on around here.
Well, the Mets were like notoriously slow for having like a really fucking slow pitching staff too, so like their guys would really take their juice.
He just complained about... he would watch like whatever was on TV. If baseball was on, he'd throw it on. It didn't matter what team it was. He was a Mets fan because he grew up in North Jersey, but... it could have been any team, not just the Phillies. Any game he would always complain about, like, this guy's he's fixing his gloves again. Like, and there's a strategy to it. You know, you're trying to ice the pitcher a little bit. You're just taking your time. You're trying to fucking take a breather for yourself. But he'd be like, come on, like, throw the fucking ball. Like, let's go. So I think he would like the pitch clock.
I think the pitch clock is good because it speeds the game up. But the only thing is, it's a weird one. And you're not even someone probably that, like, picks up on this because you don't know. Can you identify what a balk is, like, when it happens?
I know when they call it, but I couldn't call one myself.
Yeah,
probably.
Like you couldn't identify. So there's like 10 times the amount of balks now that they've introduced the pitch clock to it because it's like the pitch clock means that
what is a balk for the non-baseball fan listeners?
It's when
they like check up and it hits the.
No, it's a pitcher thing. It's the the pitcher has 4 stages of pitching. It's presentation, drop down, raise, and then
weird. So that they fuck up the cadence somehow.
So it's not the cadence. You just have to come set, which is the presentation. So when you present, you have to come set for a full second. And then your next motion has to either be the motion down. Wind up is the last part. It has to be that you're going down and into your motion, or if you're going to pick the guy off, it can't be that you're going into your wind up. It has to be a distinct throw to the bag you're picking off. So
balk, the runner advances from like first to second or something?
Or if there's no runner on, the batter walks. But yeah, if that's the penalty. But what it is when you are in your windup, your foot is supposed to touch the rubber at some point. If you touch it and then take your foot off, that's a balk. But because of the pitch clock, the players are having trouble figuring out the timing on when the batter's in and when the pitcher is on, like actually the clock starts. Because even though there's a clock, it only goes to 8 seconds. And then once 7 seconds hit, if the pitcher isn't coming set and ready to start moving, then it's a balk. But the guy didn't take his foot off the rubber, so it shouldn't be a balk, but now it is. And it's like an already confusing...
That's the penalty for delay of game?
Yeah, so it's like similar...
It's 8 seconds now?
What?
The timer's only 8 seconds?
No, it's 15, but you have
Okay.
to come set by the 8 seconds. So 7 seconds you have to be in your windup or picking the guy off. Which they should just make it 8 seconds then. But anyway,
So what do you do for the other 7?
You're just in your windup. Like
so you can take 7 seconds to wind up?
Yeah, it depends because there's some guys that have real like let's say you have a like an R.A. Dickey, or the best example right now is guy really knows how to split those balls.
Ridicky. That name is ridiculous.
Yeah. It would say the current player is Greinke, and I guess Greinke. Greinke's just
So you
weird.
have to be set by 8. And then you can do that long delayed.
It's not even a long
up.
delayed. You're 7. You just have to be in your delivery. Like you have to be making the motion delivery. So like if you're not in that motion, they call it balk. If you step off the rubber, they call it balk. So like it happens more than like ever in the entire sports history. There's like 4 balks on average.
They're gonna edit it or like change the rule. You know what I mean?
It's not even that. It's just it's frustrating because it's a really confusing rule. And I think that as someone like you, where you don't watch it, much like I watch NASCAR, I get confused on pit road, like that transition shit. You're probably like, why did this guy just go to first when he's like the counts like 1 and 2, and the pitcher did nothing? It was
I think I actually asked that when I was watching. Last fall.
It's very stupid and
there was a few times where I was like, why the fuck is he advancing? Like,
yeah. Oh, and there was a strikeout yesterday too, where the player made it all the way to first base, and the catcher had it. It was never like if the ball. So 2 strikes if the batter swings and the ball gets they either foul it and it gets past the catcher, or the catcher just drops it. Then they can run and they can have the potential of being safe if the catcher.
It's called like a pass ball.
Yeah, it's a pass ball. Yeah. So the pass ball rule is now like. They did something to it. It's the same rule. It's just there's something like different about it. But the catcher had the ball, and the kid thought that the hitter thought the ball passed and he could make it to first. Ran all the way down to first, touched the bag, and was like, "All right, I'm safe on first." And the catcher was like, "I had the ball," and they're like, "Oh, okay." And then he's just out. But I was like, I've never actually seen that exchange
play out.
Yeah, I've never seen that exchange happen because I've seen that where like the ball passes and the guy gets the first and is safe. But like I've never seen that specific instance where it's like, oh, he swung, he ran all the way down there. And it was like, no, I had you the whole time, dude. Like. Okay, you know.
I mean, no fault to the runner though for trying to play it like it's live. Like, I mean,
yeah. Well,
you run to the whistle. That's what I learned in 5th grade football.
And then just the last thing, the last baseball thing. We can get out of here. The baseball has they're trying to like implement like these weird rules too about like the shift and like player positions and like all this stuff where it's like you can make substitutions, but now they're making it like. You can make like running substitutions, you can make player substitutions, you can make batting substitutions, but they all affect like everything, and it's making players and the pitching manager, or excuse me, the managers and the pitching coaches go deeper into their roster than like ever before in the league. So you have like you could have a player throw a complete game. It's not uncommon. It's pretty uncommon, but it's like it's not like one team will generally have one pitcher that can like just routinely throw a complete game. Like for us, it's Nola. He's gonna let up like 4 runs, but or like on average, like his ERA is like 5.2 or something like that. But like he's gonna be able to throw 112 pitches over the course of 9 innings, maybe with a reliever in the 9th or something like that. Maybe a guy to take up a
closer.
But like now it's like they're going to pitching changes in like the 2nd inning. Like it's like a dude will throw like 1 2/3 innings, and I'm like. Fuck this! Like I want to see like the game play out. It's like now
and it's even. I noticed it too. It's like even when the guy's performing fine.
Yeah, they'll take him out for longevity reasons, and it's like it's
weird.
So
basketball does that now, where they sit guys for a quarter of the regular season for I forget what the word is they use, but it's like
protection, not protection.
It's like resource or something.
Management.
Yeah,
so is that it? It's like I thought it was like
it's
protective.
Like for like
protective. Fucking something else too. Protective.
It's basically like to rest
protective disengagement. I think is what they call it too. Where it's like you can't practice, but you're like on. They can't. It's the equivalent of getting redshirted, except you can't practice.
They call it load management.
Load management. Okay.
For that's fucking gay.
Fucking all the guys.
Loads.
I got a bunch in my mouth and a bunch in my behind. Where you want them? How many balls we sucking on today?
Load. That's a lot of loads, dude.
Dude, you gotta suck off
a lot of huge fucking dongers in the NBA locker
Eastern
room,
European.
Your throat's gonna hurt, dude.
In Africa.
That is a real mouthful. A lot of fucking pipe wrenches in the NBA,
A lot
dude.
of fucking loads to manage.
Imagine having a small bird in an NBA locker room, dude.
Imagine being Larry Bird. Your name is your dick.
Imagine being our buddy Smallwood, dude.
Whoa, holy fucking shit. Did I tell you that yesterday I was listening to Legion of Skanks and they were talking about basketball shit talk talking, and I'm like, go fuck, like, we can end on this, but it's like, go fuck yourself, basketball. The NBA can, like, they're such overpaid fucking babies to begin with. Like, they are all just
They flop like soccer nowadays.
They flop like soccer. They drop like they if they get into an argument with their coach, they can like retain the right to bench themselves now, which is like fucking ridiculous.
I didn't know that. I haven't been an NBA avid fan since like 4th grade, like since like the AI era ended, and then a few years after, but
I mean, I really...
Once I stopped playing basketball, I like basically stopped watching it.
I don't watch it at all. I catch it when I'm at bowling. That's about it.
I used to like betting on it. It's kind of electric to bet on because it's such a clusterfuck. But refs with the fouls. It's too much fouls. Like NASCAR's too many cautions. Baseball has too many balks. Too many fucking fouls in basketball.
They were talking about how in the whatever fucking NBA playoff championship where it was like the Bulls and like whatever, they were like, Rodman was such a good shit talker, and I was like, okay, like what did Rodman say? And it was like he said some stuff that was like, you know, kind of like rude, but nothing that it was like inflammatory. And I'm like, oh, and then they were like, oh, but you know, he had nothing on Larry Bird. Apparently Larry Bird was like the biggest shit talker.
Just dropping hard R's.
No, Larry, that's where I'm going in my head. I'm like, oh, Larry Bird's out there like, you know, fucking Jungle Bunny or whatever, starts fucking with like the Jigaboo fucking shake and jive or whatever. No, it's like he's apparently like Larry Bird. They told this legendary story of Larry Bird puts up three three-pointers in a row. Then they call a timeout and he comes back off, and whoever was defending him, he was like, man, I can't believe that they're going to give it to so-and-so. And he was so good that not only did they give it to so-and-so, but so-and-so scored, and Larry Bird was just saying that because he's like, I'm too good. I'm so good, I can tell you when they're not giving me the ball. I'm like, that's not shit talking. That's just being a dickbag. Like, that's hockey,
pretty PG.
Hockey players are like doing homework on each other, and they're fucking 60 straight minutes of chirping while you're on the ice, on the bench, from the coaches, from the box. Like, fuck you, basketball. You guys are gay. Like,
man, the guy, like, there's some fucking pretty badass shit talkers in the NHL, but
bro, like,
you see the clips where it's like, it's some guy who's like a not a bench warmer, but he's a fourth liner. He's coming up from the minors because someone's hurt or something, and like,
you're still on waivers, buddy.
50 goal a year guys are like, you fucking suck, dude. Enjoy your time in the show. You'll be back in fucking Rochester next weekend, bud.
Dude, right?
Like, holy shit, dude.
G's calling fucking.
It's a guy who's like a fucking Hall of Famer, just being like, you're a fucking pigeon, buddy. Fuck you. Go back to fucking
G's calling
junior.
Fucking like he's calling Sid a fucking pigeon, and he's like,
JVR. He called JVR a pigeon.
You're a fucking pigeon, bud. Like,
oh man, JVR just played his 1000th game. He got recognized. He's in Boston now. I saw some posts on Instagram. Boston presented him with some picture thing. It's like a picture of him in his Boston uniform, Toronto uniform, and his Philly uniform. All different stages of his career.
That's pretty sweet. Unlike Giroux, who got the
JVR was one of those ones where he was supposed to be like, I remember being so pumped, like when he got drafted. Like, I thought he was gonna be like the next big fucking like big thing, and he's just like, he's a down low like mucker and grinder. Like, he's never.
Do you remember the same happened with RJ?
When he was drafted with Patrick Kane, I think.
Yeah, and
it's like
thought
he was gonna be that.
Well, RJ Umberger was the same because like Philly really got behind. There's like been a couple of these like Philly dudes that are like everybody gets
like power forwards. Yeah, they're not skill guys.
Well, there's like these like fucking players that Philly gets behind where it's like we bite off way more than we can chew. So the most in my head, Hunter Pence was the guy for the Phillies. We had him for a season, and they named
him.
They named a kangaroo at the zoo after him, Hunter Bouncy Pants, and then he just immediately gets traded. So now
didn't he go back to his home squad or something?
Yeah, he did. He went back San Francisco, I think.
He was like, I'm going back west.
Yeah,
See you later.
He doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to play for Philly.
He was like wasn't he like towards the end of the year or something acquisition, or he was a
spring train. Like, I think he got drafted, and then the Phillies put him on the fast track in Reading, and before the season even started, he was on. And they were like, no, this guy's like going to be way bigger than we thought. And then he did okay in Philly, and then just immediately got traded. But no, the RJ Umberger was the other one, because they were naming every burger place in Philly when RJ Umberger. They had an RJ Umberger, and then he got immediately traded. Went on 4 different teams, and then came back.
I'm not buying a new sign.
Nobody fucking cared. So they all were just
Philly loves bringing guys back in the twilight of their career, thinking they're going to be like some fucking
like they're going to be the journeyman that saves the fucking franchise.
Not even that's going to put asses in seats. It's going to be like this feel good story, and they're 32. Now.
The other one was LeGarrette Blount. I remember they picked up LeGarrette Blount right before the Super Bowl. It was like that, like I think like week 8 or something like that, and he was inactive. And then like the whole like road up to the playoff season, it's like we have this dude who like 1 week he's getting like 2 receptions, 12 yards. The next week he's getting 3 receptions, 25 yards. The next week he's getting like 102 yards, and like he just exponentially was getting better. And then just immediately got traded after they win. And then what's his name? Big Dick Nick goes to the fucking. He gets traded too right after he wins.
There's a few I can think of on the Flyers. I remember one me and Tyler were both super all in on was Nikolai Zherdev.
Zherdev's a great fucking name too.
He was on the Flyers like 2012 or 2000 for like one season. It was shortly after they lost the cup. A couple years after.
He wasn't very well liked.
He was great, but he was like a head case. And like, yeah, wasn't well liked at all.
Well, no,
got arrested in Russia for like beating his wife or something, nice. And then the Flyers just dropped him. But he did have one season. But he was one of those like Ovechkin style players, like just super lazy, no back checking, no defense at all. But like, dude had fucking wheels and hands. Like, so when he did score, he put on a show. But
one of my favorites
not a great guy for the squad. But we watched his highlight video like 20 fucking times the one summer before he came. We were so pumped, and he just was a wet fart. Like it never panned out. He never had any NHL success really after that.
They made a huge deal out of Dan Carcillo when he came to the Flyers. And all he did was fucking draw penalty minutes, and I'm like,
he sucked.
And he wasn't a
car
good
bomb.
He wasn't a good player, but I liked when he was on the ice just because it's like, okay, he's on the ice. This is a guaranteed penalty, but at least like they're gonna scrap. Like so, it was fun watching.
He was
him
a goon.
He was a goon, and he was good.
Loved in Philly.
He was good in the corners. He was effective for what he did, but he just drew so many goddamn penalty minutes. It was like, you're not a good player. Like. You're not winning.
I remember being angry at him more than I was happy with him. But,
same. Like,
but you can't knock the guy. He had a fucking long NHL career. Now he's a concussion advocate, and he's him and Lindros think there should be no hitting at all in the sport. But
I have a gif of Carcillo and Stevens on the Penguins fighting, and Carcillo is spinning him around and punches him so hard.
Remember Aaron Asham?
Asham was
he was a fucking brawler. He fucked up one of our guys when he was on Pittsburgh. He like KO'd like Matt Reed or something.
No, it was open ice on the guy with the L. It was before him. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, fist fight. He absolutely not hit him. He fucking they had a fight.
Oh,
they squared up. I forget who it was with, and he like KO'd like a younger guy, like Matt Reed or someone, like a third line like grinder. He just like literally TKO'd. I could look it up right now. Go on.
Who was the guy that the Flyer that got knocked out clean on his feet, and then they didn't realize he was out cold. He got up with
Sammy Kapanen.
Was it Kapanen that
in the playoffs against Toronto?
He was out, and he was like on his feet out.
Clip.
Yeah, and
he shuffles over to the bench. His helmet's down over his
helmet's over his face,
and his ankles are bending. And he's just like, and they're pulling him. They're pulling him, dude. That was NHL was crazy.
That was the
back
Penguins,
in the day.
though, right? That was Yager, I think.
No. That was against. It was Matt Sundin. It was against he was another big power forward. But he was a skill guy too. I think it was Matt Sundin. I might be wrong. It was against Toronto.
Right.
Kapanen got absolutely pummeled next to the bench. That was scary. You thought that shit was cool, and as someone who's had concussion issues myself, it's like, it's not cool. When I see stuff like that now, I'm like, that's like a permanent brain injury. Like, that's not good.
I don't think it was on the Flyers, but I know PK Subban.
Remember back in the day, it was just, he got his bell rung.
Oh yeah, he got his bell rung. He's fine.
When I watched it as a kid, I'm like, he'll drink some water. He'll be good, and they would come back out and play.
Watching
Paul Correa, remember that?
Who?
Back in the day, he played on the Ducks.
Who?
Paul Correa.
Oh no, I don't remember.
He was huge, like nasty during the '90s era, early '90s, late '90s, early 2000s, whatever. He had to retire because of concussion issues, but there was some. It was in the playoffs or something. It was like when the Ducks versus the Red Wings was like some big rivalry in the 90s, and he got like knocked unconscious like 2 or 3 times during this game, and he like came back out in the third period. Yeah, like bad. He had concussion issues, and this was like the 90s NHL, like the Scott Stevens fucking era.
Yeah.
Like Lindros's career got cut short because of concussions. Like they were just head hunting, literally.
Well, I was at the game where they broke Lindros's head through the glass.
There was no concussion protocol then, so he comes back out in the third, like ties the game and like wins it in overtime. And he talks about it now, and he's like, I don't remember any of that. Like, he's got brain issues. Like, I don't know. It was so much more entertaining as a fan, but like I said, as someone who's had concussions, I don't like when I see people get knocked out in the UFC. I know it's a part of it, but I'm always just like, fuck, like that's, you know.
I was gonna say PK Subban had one of my favorite hits. He dropped an elbow on, I forget who the fuck it was, but he dropped someone so hard that their helmet, like the same way, it went over their face. But before they hit the ground, it was like their helmet stayed in the same location and their body just moved under it. And
it's horrifying.
Yeah, it's a fucking terrifying thing to see.
So a few times, and at a much smaller level. Like, imagine that happens to you. And you just wake up and there's like 19,000 people screaming.
It's that scene from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Mac thinks he can. The premise of the episode is that they get on a radio show. The radio show has that game where you shoot from center ice and try to get the puck into the net. So Mac wants to do it, but he doesn't know anything about playing hockey. So Charlie's teaching him how to play hockey. In his head, he's got like a duster and a mullet and the whole 9 yards. He runs out on the ice and everybody's cheering for him, but in reality, he runs out. He just slips, falls, and knocks himself out and pees his pants. And like everybody's booing him, and they're actually at a real Flyers game, so like in the background there's real Flyers fans like boo. All right, I gotta
makes it even more.
I gotta go feed Shy. You got anything to plug?
Do you remember the RJ Umberger hit?
No.
When he got hit against like Buffalo in like the mid 2000s?
No. I remember the Braden Shen and Jeremy
Aaron
Yager.
Asham knocked out Jay Beagle. It wasn't against the Flyers.
Oh.
He was a veteran on the Caps, and he absolutely pummeled him. But we're gonna end on the RJ Umberger hit.
Okay.
Just look up RJ Umberger hit on your phone.
Okay.
You can play the audio, right? Through this, yeah.
RJ Umberger against who?
Buffalo.
Okay. Brian Campbell?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. First thing that comes up.
It's a legendary.
Oh yeah,
hit.
he's already out.
Watch his face.
Oh, dude, it's the screen cap. Like, it's one
Me and Tyler used to get drunk and just pull this up and like watch this over and over again.
One of my favorite.
JP Dumont angling in. Briere the trailer to the goal mouth. Off of Desjardins and it trickles wide.
Man,
Eric Desjardins, Danny Briere. Oh,
Campbell just destroyed Umberger.
he's like knocked out inside.
And now this triggers
And they keep showing him. He looks like a fish out of water. He's like struggling
Brian
to breathe.
Campbell absolutely.
Briere.
That was that rare time with Outdoor Life Network too before it was Versus. Yeah.
This is like 07.
Dude, the one
I watched that live in my grandparents' kitchen. I think the Flyers came back, and then Briere won it for Buffalo in overtime, and I was like, God, Briere was a thorn in our side during that era. He was so good. And then Philly got him, and he was great for Philly, too. Briere was fucking electric. Dude, that's such a good era of hockey.
damn, I can't find it off the. I have a picture of it. Oh, yeah, right here, dude. Braden Shen is he's the epitome of why hockey will infinitely fucking trump basketball. The same night, LeBron James had to get carried off of the court by like 8 of his fucking
Braden Shen's
trainers.
a gamer. He's a cup champion with St. Louis too.
Well, okay, so Braden Shen collides with Jaromir Jagr into the corner, and Jagr's
Same
skate.
team?
No. It was when Jagr's on the Devils, and Jagr's skate comes up and cuts him on his side, and like literally leaves like an 8-inch laceration, like all the way from his
Doesn't
belly
he play
button.
with like 84 stitches or something?
He super glues it between shifts, goes back out for the shift, and then
scores?
He scores the game winner. Like he's
Absolutely.
Wow. Kicks him across
I don't remember this specifically.
We got a good look at Braden Shen's injury in the last shift. He comes in, he hits Zubers. It is the skate that comes up right there.
Wow.
Kicks him across the stomach. He goes to the bench, and they're just taking a look at him on the bench. Doesn't look like he needs
They
stitches.
glued it back together, and then he goes
I
out.
want to see the goal. Run it out.
Just stopping the bleeding,
It was
put
an
some
OT
salve
goal,
on it,
but-
make sure he doesn't get
dude, absolutely
any
electric.
infection. Then he's right back on the bench, ready to go. That's hockey.
That was
shift
it.
by
So-
Zubers. Zubers set up Jagr.
The same
show the
night.
goal?
This is the OT goal, but I'll play it out. But I just want to say this was the same night LeBron James got carried off by 8 of his fucking
Braden Shen with the fucking game winner,
dude. Fucking top
That's
titties
so
too.
hype,
And
dude.
that is why hockey is like you can never get that with fucking basketball. It's a bunch of millionaires.
There's buzzer beaters in
It's just a
basketball.
bunch of millionaires whining over their fucking long dicks about how hard their fucking life is because they have to choose between Gucci and Prada. Fuck you, basketball players.
Basketball, there's from watching it when I was betting, there's some good finishes in basketball.
Yeah, there's buzzer beaters, like you said, but
You know, you like what you like.
you get
Joe's
the-
inherently racist, so he just doesn't like basketball. He's the Nazi segment. I'm just fucking with you, dude. I'm not a huge basketball fan either.
There's a lot
I don't want to make it
there's a
crass
lot of
for all
those people in baseball too.
and football.
and a lot of Argentinians with blue eyes.
Great athletes.
Yeah.
No, but
All right,
Yeah,
we
if
got to
you like
wrap. I
basketball,
gotta go feed
you
Shy.
probably hated this, and if you don't like NASCAR, you probably hated this.
If you like basketball, you probably hated this too.
hit the plugs real quick.
All right, HRS Design and Promotion.
Traction Motorsports.
Tommy's 11R.
Stewart's Handyman Service. Let's do a quick one. Jay Hollywood. Jay Comedy Scrocka. Jay Scrocka.
Jay Scrocka.
He doesn't even know where the fuck he's gonna be. This guy. We gotta give him a. He's got to come prepared.
I sent him the clip.
I know you've told him this. He comes on. He's like, I'll be somewhere in Wilmington.
I sent him the clip of Bobby Kelly on O&A lamenting about. He was like, dude, I bought an entire fucking beanbag chair in McDonald's, dude. I was at Helium and no one showed up. They played the fucking promo he does. He doesn't explain what city, what club, or where, the phone number, anything like that. It's like, dude, I don't figure out why anybody wasn't there. It's like, because there was 22 people there.
Too many hoops to jump through.
Yeah, nobody's fucking Googling you. Sorry, anyway, Jay Scrocka Comedy and then Can Man.
Was he trying to do like a bit in the beginning where he's being like aloof? Was that on purpose, or is that just
no? He
just
calls me. He just calls me that way sometimes.
That's hilarious. He was cracking me up, dude.
All right, thanks for
You're
listening.
a real funny guy.
Thanks for listening. Go
Love
fuck
you guys.
yourselves.